Blushed a little bit. So Dion did a great job of introducing me, but I had a chance to listen to what you were saying that the Chamber is doing down here, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff getting ready to peak. And their partnership with the Houston Technology Center is a great asset to them. And if you can get that campus down here, it will greatly improve everyone's opportunities in the virtual world. As Dion said, you know, I have over a dozen years experience in human resources, recruiting and staffing. I've worked in all different kinds of industries all over the world, but primarily here in Houston, I've worked in oil and gas manufacturing. And I had a unique opportunity about 5 years, a little bit over 5 years ago, where I had a traveling HR position, and I had to travel from state to state to state, from location to location to location, onboarding, training, and managing human resources in all 15 different locations. When I started doing that, I started virtualizing a lot of my systems because I couldn't be in 15 places at one time. It was just impossible. So I had to create all different kinds of web-based systems where I could communicate, interact, and effectively manage teams of people all across the United States. When I left that occupation, that job, I just had a hunger for working virtually, and I went out on my own and decided to work virtually. At the time I went out into the market to work virtually, there were some websites and some blogs that I could go to find out things, but everything else was pretty much self-taught. Every tool, every system, every process, every procedure. And that's really changed in the last 5 years. Does anyone here know what virtual administration is? You know. Has anyone ever hired a virtual administrator? No? Okay. So there are some unique ways that businesses are using virtual talent in order to grow their business, but also talented resources are using their skills and experience in order to get virtual jobs. So it works both ways. A virtual worker can do just about anything. 90% of workers these days are working in web-based programs, in traditional jobs, or in mobile-based programs. Since 2005, you can see that the job market for virtual, remote, telecommute, it's all the same thing, it's just different words that they use to explain the same kind of work scenario, has consistently grown. This is not a trend, it's not a blip in a map, it's not something that's just gonna happen now and then go away later. It's steadily been inclining since 2005. And that is because people are trying to get the best talent that they possibly can for their positions without being geographically restricted, and because of the baby boomer generation has come into play, and they want to have a better work-life balance, but their employers don't want to lose their experience and skills. A lot of people are very surprised to know that the average virtual worker, it's 49 years old. People mostly come to me and say, oh, that's a young kid's job. That's a college kid's job. Well, my clients are not hiring college kids necessarily. They're hiring people that have 5+ years experience in their field with a degree in their field, and they're older candidates that they're typically hiring. A virtual worker on average earns about $65,000 a year. So when people talk about freelance economy and gig economy, they're talking about a section of virtual work. But there are Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies that are hiring virtual workers every single day, and some of those people are my clients. As I said before, 90% of work spent in traditional work is done in a mobile application or in an application that is web-based. So employers are realizing that, and realizing that people don't have to be tied to their desks. They're even changing the way that office spaces look. Office spaces look more communal now. They're not cubicle towns anymore, because they want people to be interacting with each other on a more social level, and for work environments to be more like a coffee lounge or something like that, where people are working in group workspaces, because they're all working in web-based programs that don't require them to be plugged into a wall or plugged into a system. Virtual workers and their employers experience a lot of different areas where they're seeing improvements. Specifically, clients are saying increased productivity, but the workers are usually citing better work-life balance, and that can mean something different to each and every one of you. I know for me, my why in working virtual is so I could homeschool my kids. I have other people that work in our agency who take care of sick family members, or they live in a geographically restricted area. I have one resource who lives in rural Kentucky, and her husband runs a doctor's practice that's there in town, and she has advanced degrees in accounting and finance, and her options for work in the town that she lives in is Walmart or drive a school bus. So she makes over $65,000 a year doing accounting and finance work virtually through my agency. And she says that it saved her life. She was going crazy because she couldn't use all this education that she had amassed and experience that she had amassed. And she's receiving a better work-life balance because of it. Every employer, in addition to increased productivity, also has less sick leave. Virtual workers are not exposed to the same kind of communal germs that an office is, and I know we've all worked in an office where somebody's come in sick and then everyone's ended up getting it. Once I started working virtually and started homeschooling my children, we get sick maybe once a year now, so we're not getting sick 3 or 4 times a year like we were when we were working in traditional work and traditional school. If anyone has any questions about virtual work or how employers are utilizing work, I can get specific into your niche, but I can say real estate industry is using virtual administrators. Medical industry is using it, and they have been using it for a very long time in medical billing and coding. It's been a telecommute job for over 15 years. Insurance agents are using virtual workers to help with their intake of clients and sales and lead generation. Non-for-profits are using virtual workers because the workers are 1099 contractors, so they have a lower overhead cost, and they're also able to work with very talented people who might not be in their geographical area. So they're able to work with people across the country or in another country or in another state that they might not normally be able to work with. And all businesses are using virtual workers for overflow. So you design websites, you do social media, you do something like that. You can have a virtual help you with your overflow, especially if you're a single proprietor business who's doing everything himself. Whenever you take on that extra client and you have more work than you can handle, then a virtual can help you with your overflow. So it's interesting the way that people are utilizing it, and I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions. Thank you for having me.
I'm a virtual worker myself. Work out of the house. My headquarters are in Dallas.
Yeah, and you get to travel and work. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you so much for your time.